Welcome back to Desk Talks with Chase and Rob. We are excited that you guys have joined us. Robbo, how you doing this morning?
I'm fantastic. I can't complain. It's cool. It's sunshiny. And there's not a cloud in the sky here in Texas. And it's officially fall here. So I'm feeling pretty good, man. Feeling
It's
pretty good.
officially fall here too, man. I've been waking up and it's cold, man. Like it's down in the 30s up here in Kansas City.
You and I were talking about that the other day. You have me trying to reverse, what did you call it? I'm reversing my Octavian lifestyle and exercising again. Um, 10 years, almost a decade post service. I'm never working out again. It's not worth it. But I woke up at 5 o'clock to go run the other day, and it was like 38 degrees out, and I was like, "Is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
Is it
Is
worth it?"
my long-term and overall health worth being
The
cold
answer is
at
no.
5 o'clock in the morning? No.
The answer was no. It was get back in bed, start the coffee, get ready for the day.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I got up this morning and went and ran out in that cold, and it was gross, and I was not happy. So I feel that,
That is
but I feel better
gross.
now. So
Of course you do. Plus, we're in the same space next week, which is exciting.
that is exciting, man.
So you can get pumped
Thanksgiving's
up.
coming up next week. I hope if you do celebrate Thanksgiving that you get to celebrate the way that you want to. I will be down in Texas with Rob and his family. Excited about that.
Who doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving here in
You know,
America?
there's some people that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, man.
By choice?
I don't know. I've always celebrated Thanksgiving, so I don't
I have
know.
too. I don't know. It's foreign to me. I mean, I hear you. I'm sure some people just may not have the ability to, but I'm always very thankful. Thanksgiving is always such a good time of the year because family gets together, right? And we're Southern, and so I get to express my love and appreciation for my family through food.
No,
So
no better way. All
give
right.
me the carbs and butter, baby. I'm here for it.
That's right. Let's all sit around, eat food that we only eat once a year because we all know that it's not that great. But we'll consume it in mass quantities.
Hold up. Okay. Now you're hurting feelings.
All right, man. When's the last time that you smoked a turkey outside of Thanksgiving?
Huh? You're
Good
not
talk.
wrong.
All right. So,
You're not wrong. But I disagree with you on the it doesn't taste good, but you're not wrong.
oh, I'm just saying, it's not something that you crave year round, right? I mean, it's not something
No.
that you think of year round. I mean, my wife, because she's a weirdo, I love you, Elizabeth, but she makes me smoke a turkey breast every now and again, um, just because she likes that, and I think that's kind of odd. Like you have to do it just right, and the reason why you don't do a lot of turkey is because they are big birds. It's hard to do like a turkey and not have people over,
Well,
right? Like
and
how are
they're
you gonna eat all
just,
that?
where do you go? And this is a genuine question. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'll start paying attention a little bit more after the holiday season. But for 10 months out of the year or 9 months out of the year, where do you go get a turkey? I have them. We raise our turkeys. But
Right.
like, where do you, what store can you go to buy a whole like frozen turkey?
Yeah, most of your stores will carry it. You could also go to the
Really?
butcher. Yeah, you can go to the
Oh,
butcher
I'm going to
section and
pay
ask them
attention to
if
that
they'll
now.
they'll hook you up with the so you don't have to pay the slicing fee. In case you don't know, desk talkers, all right, if you go to the grocery store, it's actually cheaper for you to slice your own meat than have the butcher slice it. There's actually a fee that is associated with that. They're doing work, you have to pay for it. So,
If we're giving out life hacks, I watched a video of a gentleman who was doing like ground bison, and he called Costco. Costco will give away the trimmed fat for free. All you have to do is call their butcher and say, "Hey, I would like 10 pounds of your pre-trimmed fat," and they'll wrap it up, package it for you. Doesn't cost you a dime,
for real,
for real.
yeah, it probably saves them on like a waste bill. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
absolutely.
have to take care of it, and plus you
Yep,
get tallow. You can take
yep.
that home, melt that down in a crock pot, and make tallow.
I mean, could you imagine? I don't know how many people are like us, but we have our own meat slicer, we have our own meat grinder. Those are cheap things to buy.
Yeah, they're not.
relatively
Yeah, they're not
inexpensive, right?
expensive. I mean,
But
what's a decent meat slicer? I think I got one, and mine was on Amazon on sale for $59, and it
yeah,
works perfect. My
it's something
grinder
like
goes on
that.
my KitchenAid, and I realize that KitchenAid might be a little bougie, but I think they're not bougie anymore. I think you can
It's
pick one up
common.
at Target. Like
Yeah.
I think they're commonplace now. We
You
have
can
a
buy them
meat
at
grinder.
Walmart, dude.
That's what. Yeah, I mean they're commonplace now. So I mean you can get a KitchenAid attachment for the grinder for $60.
I
So I
mean,
mean
mine's
you have a
separate.
low barrier to entry.
You do, and you can buy things. You can buy your meat in bulk. Like we bought a brisket. Boy, this is not on topic for today, but
No,
I
this is
love
good.
this
We got to get off
conversation.
this.
Hang on, let
Well,
me
we're talking
finish my
about
point.
food, and we're two
Yeah, yeah.
fat kids at heart.
Let me finish my point though. If you buy a whole brisket at Costco, right, it costs you $40, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We're a family of four. With my meat grinder and slicer, you can smoke some of that, slice that brisket up. You have smoked brisket sandwiches. You can do burn ends. You can grind that brisket. If you get the beef tallow, the beef fat from Costco, right? You can mix that in with other meats. You can make some killer hamburgers.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
I'm life hacking for people here. It's inexpensive. We live too far from any good restaurants to eat well, so we have to cook all our food here at the house. But I promise, it's worth it. What are you doing?
I'm trying to wipe the saliva from coming out of my mouth as you're talking. I got like saliva coming out of the corners of my
What?
mouth
So,
right now, dude. That is you are making me so I'm such a
well,
fat kid. All right.
I was watching this video, and the guy made a good point. He goes, "Look, they trim up the ribeye and they give you the fat, which means there's still meat on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you grind that up, make your own hamburgers. There is nothing better. We're having hamburgers here tonight, by the way.
Oh, I
Homemade
bet
fries
you
and
are. The best
hamburgers.
hamburger I ever had. I was with my one of my best buds, Doug Staples. Shout out to you, Dougie. I love you. We went down, visited his family in Austin, Texas. I think back in like 2017. We stayed at this hotel. Man, let me tell you, this hotel was so nice. I had to tell Elizabeth that I thought I was got to put out because Doug paid for it, and he went down and gave me this short rib brisket burger, and it changed my life. I've been chasing that high ever since. I haven't had a burger that's been decent ever since.
You need to come over here. You know what
Absolutely ridiculous.
Melissa got
Absolutely
me
ridiculous.
Melissa got me 30-day dry aged ribeye for my birthday this year.
Shut up. Stop it.
We didn't eat it all, and so I trimmed it up and we turned it into burgers. Oh
You
my
did.
god. Get
Yeah, you
out.
did.
Get out. It's easy to
Oh,
eat like that on a budget. You know
now
what I mean?
that
If you
is
do it
a
at home.
birthday gift. Listen up, all right? If you're ever wondering
Oh,
what
she
to
treats me
get
right, buddy.
your spouse
Yeah.
for their birthday, 30-day dry age brisket.
Damn straight.
I'm in. Like Elizabeth, if
No,
you're
no, no.
listening, Christmas is coming
Ribeye.
up.
30-day dry aged ribeye,
Oh,
friend.
that's even better.
2-inch thick steaks. Okay. And then she got me a chef's apron that says ask me about my meat. I think it's fantastic.
That's fantastic. All right, all right, all right. Enough about this. We've spent enough time talking about food. That's not why people come here. I hope that we'll probably edit that part out.
I'm not editing that out. The people need to know.
The
We're
people
life
need to know.
hacking. Okay? We're life hacking here.
All right. Well, life hacking or not, talking about life hacks. Rob, we saw a wonderful article that came up. We found out who Trump has named for the VA pick, and that is Mr. Collins,
Yeah.
Representative Doug Collins from Georgia. We are, want to say congratulations, Mr.
Yeah,
Collins.
absolutely. And you talk about life hacking. I think President-elect Trump is certainly doing that with Mr. Collins, because I think by all indications, no one had any idea that was the direction they were going.
I think you and I saw a short list,
We did.
like
Hmm.
through talking to people, we kind of came
Hmm.
up with a short list. We're like speculating, because this
Yep.
is our world, right? So
Yep.
we were kind of speculating, and nowhere
Mm-mm.
Mr. Collins anywhere on that list. In
No.
fact, it was hard to find information out about Mr. Collins.
It's an interesting pivot, but it's one that makes sense because what do we call? I guess it's president elect, right?
President elect.
Not former president,
Nope.
President elect Trump. It makes sense because he has a tendency, and I'm regurgitating what they say in the article, but I do find it true. He typically appoints individuals who were relatively loyal to him throughout his campaign. But I also think, yes, it's a shock, but it could be a real positive for veterans, especially in the healthcare space, because whenever President Biden's cabinet took over, they moved away from community care a little bit, so they removed some funding from community care, which was
Well, they
pretty
stopped
substantial.
reinforcing it as much, right? They didn't grow the program. They didn't delete it, right?
No, no, no,
I mean,
no,
they
no,
didn't take
no.
it back. They didn't downplay it as much. They just didn't fund it. I'm clarifying, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they just didn't fund it to the most that they could have.
yeah. They removed funding from it, not all the funding, but they removed some from it. And I know, whenever from what I've read, um, Mr. Collins is a big privatization champion, which is the direction for
It's very
community
much
care
a,
that,
a free market guy.
well, whenever President Trump during his first term, they push for privatization of healthcare for veterans, which is important for individuals, one like you, right? You have very specific needs, and so you want to seek out the best individual. People like myself who live
Yeah,
further
there's no
out from
secret. I
VA
mean, people know that I
facilities.
I lost my right eye during service, so I do need specialty care that goes along
Yeah.
with that, and that
Uh,
does matter to me.
I think it could be a really positive in that area. My only concern, if you will, is surrounding education, because there's so much from like a veteran's educational benefits. I'm not trying to stir people up. I don't think you'll see any major shakeups, and I know that that's been something that people have kind of predicted on the horizon for for VA benefits. I don't see a major shakeup coming. What I do potentially see are some regulatory changes around programs that are available for GI Bill use. So we at DES are keeping a very, very strong pulse on those changes, and certainly if we get wind of anything, we'll let everyone here know.
Absolutely, I saw that there in the article that he's like you just to reinforce that he's a big proponent of privatizing a lot of departments, and this
Hmm.
is not secret. I mean, the former VA Secretary David Shunkin, I think I'm saying that right,
Sure.
Shulkin. Okay, like he was kind of removed because of that. Whenever Trump put him in place during his first
Hmm.
administration, because he wasn't willing to privatize some of those departments. So we do know that President-elect Trump does have a very laid out plan for how he
Yeah.
wants the VA to be run. We hope that Mr. Collins is able to help. I'm trying to use the right words here. Lead uh, President-elect Trump in the right decision-making skills. Right?
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
being
that's what he
very.
is. He's an advisor, right? And he executes the plan. But I hope that he's able to advise that helps veterans benefit the most.
Yeah, that was a very political correct way to say that, and I'm appreciative of you.
Well, I mean, you can water that down a little bit and
No,
just
no,
say,
no,
hey,
no,
man,
no.
I hope that he gets up there and makes the
I don't think
right
it needs to
calls
be.
and is able to challenge some things and able to fight for some things that he believes in that's going to be better for us as veterans and not take back and hurt and chop it up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I, I'm curious. Has there ever been, to your knowledge, and I'll look this up after we're done. But to your knowledge, has there ever been an former enlisted person as the commissioner of VA?
Not to my knowledge, but to be honest with you, I've never gone and sought out that
I haven't
information. I mean,
either.
we can look it up right now if you want.
I haven't either. I know Mr. Collins was a captain in the Air Force, right?
Yeah, he was a captain of the Air Force, and he was part of the chaplain corps.
Yeah. So he has a really good foundation for need, uh, and he has the military experience, which is always a big plus, especially if you're leading care for military veterans. Understanding need is key inside of that. But it is interesting because Mr. Collins never served on any kind of VA board.
No.
So he has never had, from
Not
my
that,
understanding, has
right.
never had any kind of VA oversight, doesn't understand like the intricacies of it. So I'm curious what kind of growth will happen and how quickly that'll happen for Mr. Collins, or if he's just going to come in like a sledgehammer. Because we all know there's change that's necessary. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, folks. Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Yeah.
We'll definitely update you as that information comes out week by week. We do know that President-elect Trump likes to shake things up, especially in the first part of the administration. So listen up, here it comes.
Yeah.
We'll keep the pulse on it for you.
And I don't think it's a bad thing, right? And I know whenever most people think change isn't necessarily a good thing, but I'm hopeful. I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
I
Chase
am
knows
too.
that.
I'm optimistic, man.
Yeah,
Like,
constantly. And so I'm hoping. I feel good. I feel good about it. It's not the individual I thought or that I wanted there. Selfishly, I wanted a close colleague of ours to get that, but he didn't, and that's okay.
and that's
So
okay.
wish Mr. Collins all the best when he hears this podcast. When he does, you have our support.
Absolutely, Mr. Collins. Let DES know what we can do for you, sir.
We're here for it. We're
A
here
little
for it.
shameless plugging there.
Oh man.
No, seriously. I mean, the VA is needs an overhaul, right? We all know this. I mean, it can always be better, and we do
Yeah.
know that needs an overhaul. The a great question to propose is, I mean, does it need a shock to the system, like just a rip, start ripping things apart and figuring it
Mhm.
out, a
Mhm.
total dismantle and put back together, or does it need gradual, shifting sands, right? Do we need to keep our baseline here, or does it needs to be something that needs to be stripped down and rebuilt? I mean, I don't think that stripping down and rebuilding things, especially those who depend on it, is probably the best way of going about things.
I don't either. But I think a retool is probably necessary. I think, and I've said this, and I will continue to say it. I think VA, as the second largest department of our federal government, I genuinely believe, from an overarching standpoint, and I know somebody somewhere is going to be like, "This guy's an idiot," but I think they're doing the best that they can. Because you can't
I was about to say, it's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, you can't satisfy the needs of everyone. That's never going to happen. And so you look at the needs of the many and you take that over the few. But I do think if we continue along the same path as President-elect Trump's first administration, with that healthcare privatization for veterans via community care, if he continues to expand that, I think that is far and away the best thing that he could do for us, is to expand community care and allow veterans, to seek out care that's local to them, right, and who they actually want to go to, not who's the lowest bidder.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing how that works. What that kind of impact is going to have on the VA, because I mean, we all know that the dollar, that it does come down to dollars and cents, right?
Does, yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that here on the podcast. Everybody's got to eat, right? So everybody's got to work, and people need to get paid for the work that they do. These doctors and the staff don't come there. Yes, they do come out of there from the goodness of their hearts, but they're also there for a paycheck. I mean, they got to eat too.
Of course.
So I'll be interested in seeing, some of those reports on what the community care does to cost, to the, to running the VA. I wonder if that's going to be a shock to the system. I mean, that's something that we haven't talked here on the podcast about, but we have talked about the VA misappropriating some funds and not misappropriating funds. Let me
Yeah.
take that back. Exaggerating, some of their
Yeah.
some of their demands and some of their needs. So I would be interested in seeing how this is going to play out. I'm with you on that. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting.
Well, it is going to be interesting, and the hope is that they can find a way to retool and refocus VA efforts without the dreaded word layoffs.
Oh, or furloughs.
That's the last thing. That's the last thing we want people to go through.
No, because most of those positions are actually held by veterans. So
Yep.
if you actually go back and you look, at who the VA employs, a majority of their employees are veterans. So
That's true.
we don't want a burden on our brothers and sisters, financially as well as their health care. So I'm hoping that it rings true too, man. I'm interested in seeing what's happening.
Well, I'm excited. Good changes hopefully coming down the pike soon. But we're moving from. Well, you know what? I'm going to hold that thought for a later day. But yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Ooh, must be a big thought if you're going to hold it. I kind of want to push the button. I kind of want to push it.
Well, okay, fine. I'll
don't
say
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
We can talk about the United States Postal Office.
No, thank you. But what I was going to say, and we don't have to get into it, but I mean, you are seeing a shift away from a political stance, from big government to smaller, more privatized government, giving power back to the states. These are all things that has been said throughout President-elect's campaign, and now let's see if he implements those things. Hopefully, it's all for the better. My question, inside of all of this, and I posed it to you, I think, on Monday, is what kind of regulatory changes are we going to see? If community care expands, who has oversight over who's taking advantage of community care from a provider standpoint? That's what I personally am most interested in seeing.
I think that's going to be interesting as well, Rob. I think that is probably the most interesting part of me, and how do they participate?
Yeah.
Right. So what does that look like? So we all know that doctors have a right to see whoever they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of quality are we going to get with the community care? Once that's being released, how much, because like we just said, they got to eat too, right?
Yep.
So how much is the federal government going to be willing to pay them versus how much, they're going to be willing to accept, deviating from their everyday cost, right?
Yep.
What we do know is that most doctors who accept Medicare are going to accept, community care because it's the exact same rates and fees. So veterans, if you already see a doctor that is taking Medicare and you're using that, or if that's something that appeals to you, community care might be an option as well for some of those other things.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate before anybody that listens to this gets spun up. This is all speculation at this point from us.
Oh, yeah.
These are questions that we have surrounding it. This is not based in any hard evidence that we can prove. So please, no one gets spun up by this and think you're going to lose care or that things are going to change drastically. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is these are the areas that DES, we're going to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Because it's what we're interested in. It's a space that we operate in. So,
well, and you got to ask the questions, right? Thank you for the disclaimer. That was needed. Absolutely. We are, we are not experts in VA healthcare.
No.
So this is all speculation, but it does impact our brothers and sisters. And we do use our platform to ask questions. The very small platform that we have, we're going to ask the questions.
And it impacts us. Both of us being disabled veterans, it impacts us. And if it's close to us, it's close to others. And so just trying to share what we have.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Desk Talks. Come back to us next week where I have the same conversation going with a little bit different topic. If you would like to join us, make sure that you send us an email at info@dynamiceducationalsolutions. Until next week.
Peace.